appear in the form of a dog, cat, ape, or other small black animal. Okay? People believed that these witches were capable to raise storms, blight crops, cause abortions, lame cattle, topple over houses, cause pains, convulsions, and various other illnesses. They also believed that they too had power to ride the winds, usually with a broomstick. So they believed that here in the US too. But it was only after she had smeared her broom with that magic ointment.
I want some of that ointment.
Yeah. We've got some brooms in there. Let's go take a ride.
Well, there is a legend. It states that if the witch desired to harm a person, that she would make a clay or wax image of them and use that image to wreak havoc on them by taking a knife, needle, fire, or water to it.
That is almost like voodoo.
Exactly. That's what I would say. Whatever was done to that image, the person was to feel that pain physically themselves, no matter how far away that person may be. A few examples would be that if the image was placed in running water, hot sunshine, or near fire, the living flesh would waste away as it melted or dissolved, and the person this was wrought upon would die.
Well, they could do it to me for a little bit till some of this fat melted off me, and I wouldn't have to worry about a diet. That'd be fabulous. The first person to actually be convicted of witchcraft within the U.S. was a woman by the name of Alice Young. History states that she was hung on May 26, 1647 for witchcraft, but there were no records of any trial or any accusation. However, there is a wide variety of speculations of why she was accused, ranging from her being the age of 40 with no son, for an example. She didn't have a son, so they thought she might be a witch. And there was this influenza epidemic in the area that had a high mortality rate, and they said that she could maybe be blamed for that, or be blamed for possibly being a healer at that time, or that she could have just been making herbal remedies for fellow settlers, later in life. Roughly 30 years. In Springfield, Massachusetts, her daughter was also accused of witchcraft, but her daughter was not executed.
Well, that's good to know.
And with that, folks, we will be right back after this short break. You're listening to Ghost Talk Radio on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama. Since 1948, Fate Magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Son of a...
Hey, son.
Mother...
Son? What are you doing?
Hey, Mom. I'm getting ready to listen to Periscope Uncensored.
By expanding your vocabulary.
Well, it is uncensored.
Son, the uncensored part of Periscope Uncensored is Jax and I getting down to brass tacks with all aspects of the paranormal. There's no fluff on our show.
So, no off-color commentary?
I didn't say that.
Awesome! What?
Son?
I just hit my head.
Oh boy, I'll go get you an ice pack. Catch Periscope Uncensored Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, only on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to Ghost Talk Radio with me as your host, Shelly Robertson, and joining me is Kristin Boyd. If you just tuned in, we invite you all to join us in chat at WBHM-DB.com, where you can ask us any questions you might have. And if you missed the first part of the show, no worries, folks. You can catch the full show archive on Spreaker, Google Play, iTunes, and iHeartRadio at your leisure. Now, before the break, we were discussing some of the Salem witch trials, and we were just getting into how they come about over here in the U.S. So you know some of the legends of that, correct?
Well, I do.
Okay.
Actually, 30 years before the infamous Salem witch trials took place, a witch hysteria took hold in Hartford, Connecticut in 1662, resulting in 7 trials and 4 executions. It all began when a woman named Anne Cole suddenly became afflicted, shaking violently and spouting blasphemies. Cole blamed her outbursts and ailments on her neighbor, Rebecca Greensmith. It was then the accused began to accuse others, including their own spouses, of being the actual true witch.
Oh boy. Your husband would accuse you.
Oh my goodness. Well, the testimony that created the most chaos came from Greensmith herself,
Oh.
who reportedly admitting having familiarity with the devil. She even stated that her husband was a part of this and that they had met in the woods with 7 other witches. Now, why you would testify against yourself, I have no clue.
Oh boy.
But the neighbors also testified they seen them dancing with other women in the woods and that they were cooking concoctions in black kettles.
So that's where those cauldrons came into play.
Well, Greensmith confessed all this in court, but her husband protested his innocence. Unfortunately for him, they both met the same fate, hanging. 2 others were also executed and met the same fate as the Greensmiths. After the executions, Cole reportedly was restored to health.
No kidding.
Imagine that.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. Let's move on to some of the most known witch trials within the U.S. And that is, folks, you guessed it, the Salem witch trials, right? I mean, who doesn't know something, a little bit at least, of something about that? Now, these trials, they began in the spring of 1692 after a group of young girls claimed to be possessed by the devil and accused several local women of witchcraft. Now, the first convicted witch was Bridget Bishop, and she was hanged that June. 18 others would follow her to the Salem's Gallows Hills, while an additional 150 more folks, men, women, and even children were accused. Kids.
That's insane.
It was in January of 1692 when 9-year-old Elizabeth Paris and 11-year-old Abigail Williams, they began having violent fits that included, like contortions and outbursts of screaming, okay? Now, it was after a local doctor by the name of William Griggs who diagnosed bewitchment. He diagnosed them as being witches. Oh my gosh. That additional younger girls in the community, they begin to exhibit similar symptoms. So now you have all these little kids which,
Running around.
yeah, and they probably had some kind of real valid ailment.
Right. Exactly.
Now, these girls, they included another little girl named Ann Putman, Mercy Lewis, Elizabeth Hubbard, Mary Wolcott, and Mary Warren. Okay. Now, Paris had a Caribbean slave named Tituba, and Tituba was arrested in late February, along with 2 other women, including a homeless beggar and an elderly woman, after the girls accused them of bewitching them. So all these little girls did that, right? Well, they were brought before the magistrate, and they were all questioned, and all of them pleaded their innocence except for Tituba, who confessed. All right, she confessed to being a witch.
Wow.
More than likely seeking to save herself, from death by acting as an informer and claiming there were additional witches acting alongside of her in service of the devil himself. So she thought that maybe,
It would help him.
yeah, if she came clean or whatever, they would spare her.
Well, unfortunately, it was then that mass hysteria broke out among the communities, and many others began to be accused of witchcraft as well.
Wow.
Including a 4-year-old girl.
That is just craziness.
It is. Now, these accusations continued and eventually overwhelmed the local justice system. So in May of 1692, the new governor, William Phips, ordered a special court hearing to make the final decisions on the accused witches and their cases.
Well, the court reached their first conviction on June 2nd against Bridget Bishop, who was hanged 8 days later, right? 5 more were hanged that July, 5 in August, and 8 more in September. In addition to the hangings, 7 others that were accused, they died in jail. So they didn't even get hanged.
Right.
So it was probably from the poor conditions in the jail.
Starvation.
Yeah. Now there was this man named Giles Corey. He, this is disgusting. He was pressed to death by stones after he refused to enter a guilty plea. So they squashed him with big rocks.
That had to take a while.
That would have been disgusting.
Well, in October, the governor dissolved the special court hearings and mandated that its successors disregard spectral evidence. About time.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the trials continued until early 1693, but by May, Phips had pardoned and released all those in prison on witchcraft charges. In January of 1697, the Massachusetts General Court declared a day of fasting for the tragedy of the Salem witch trials, later deeming the trials unlawful. The families of the convicted so-called witches received restitution to the heirs in 1711. No matter, though, the events that took place during this time will never be forgotten within the history of the United States.
Absolutely not. And, people flock to those areas just to see it.
Right.
Well, of course, we're coming closer in history here. And I'm sure you all know that witches are still in existence today. And thankfully, they do not have to fear the death penalty to conduct their practice. Now, a general definition of the modern witch is someone who works with the forces of nature and the divine energy to make changes to their reality. All right? They are seekers of answers through the study of folklore, legends, mythology, religion, and of course, history. There are considered to be 5 modern witches in existence today and include the eclectic, traditional, green, hedge, and kitchen witches. And there are actually a few others, but we'll save those for another show. We're going to do these main ones here tonight.